We have loved settling back into our own little rural spot. While we have been busy getting organised and getting things set up around the property, there has still been plenty of time for rest and living slowly. In today's video, I'm keeping the pace slow as I practice patience by observing our land and planning what will go where. From soil testing to mapping the sun and propagating a new herb garden, there is still plenty to be done, but of course, slowly. Good freaking morning on this gorgeous 1st of June, first day of winter day. It is going to be a stunning day. I can already tell because the fog out in the distance usually means the day is going to be nice and clear up here. And I'm having a look around. It's currently 7:30 and I'm yet to have my coffee, but I'm checking out where the sun is going. If there's any frost as well. Definitely dewy. So beautiful, so peaceful. The birds, I've missed this. One of the main reasons why I'm looking where some of the sunspots are is because I'm planning on growing gardens, and it's important that throughout the seasons I observe where the shadows are cast so that I know where my full sun plants can be and where my shady plants can be. It's definitely going to be very different in summertime when the sun is a lot higher and stays out for longer, but I think it's also good to do for winter as well. Alright, it's now 10:30 and we've got full sun there and there, and then around the fire pit area and out this side. We now have sun. It's only day 2 on the property, but you guys know my love and my need to garden. And now that we're here, it feels even stronger than ever. I saw soil and I already planted some things. Now I've got a beautiful bucket of perennial herbs and plants from my friend's garden, which I'm going to hopefully propagate. I'm going to try propagate it in a few different ways, from soil to water, and also with roots. So hopefully some of these take, and then I'm able to spread them out throughout the property. Let's do some meat. Massive roots. Not making the same mistake I did with the first homestead. My mint is going to be in its own pot to begin with. First plant.
First plant?
Woo. Mint.
Mint. Oh, that's funny. Good job.
Oops. Lavender next. We want to pull off some of these lower leaves, plant it in like that. Meanwhile, this morning, Sammy's busy with the shed. I'm definitely glad we made sure to slow down last night and have that bonfire instead of just chipping away at the shed last night. It just wasn't working. I think we were both exhausted, so it's good to tackle it again today rather than yesterday because it hasn't been as easy as you would like. Around our area, the rock harvests are fantastic. I'm very excited for some projects with them. By the time the afternoon hit, I really got to see where the sunny spots were on the property. It's now 1:30, so this is the sun. Full sun for most of these gardens. Full sun over here. And beautiful shade.
So far, winter has brought cool mornings and evenings, but the middle of the day has been very warm and sunny. When potting up my herbs, I am mixing the existing soil with some compost. This gives the plants lots of water retention and nutrients, but also a realistic idea of the soil they'll be living in.
Finally have a place for my spring onions. Spring onions can easily be grown from food scraps and we use them a lot, so I was very excited to get these into the soil. You guys know Sam and I cook a lot, and I'm excited to share soon where all these herbs will end up. Alright, we'll see how that goes. I'll show you guys how I'm propagating the rosemary. So this is the cutting. You can see up until this point it's green and then it turns into the brown woody old growth. So I want to do about 2 or 3 nodes down, and you can see the nodes are these sections here in between where the leaves are growing out. So I'm going to snap it here, and then I'm going to take off the bottom leaves, and then this is the part that I'll be planting into the soil, and then that'll be the plant. Pretty cool. As you can see, we'll be using rosemary a lot in our garden. But also sharing if anyone else wants some rosemary, of course. Because what's the point of a garden if you're not sharing?
My friend also had some spare metal garden beds sitting around that she passed on to me.
These are going to be my temporary way to keep herbs and plants safe, but also be able to grow things before we establish some gardens in their more permanent places. So that way I can start straight away without having to wait. They'll most likely end up protecting the herbs, and then once I have my herb garden established, then I will plant out some potatoes. Or something, I haven't decided yet. And you may have noticed I have picked a lovely, beautiful, shady spot on the property. I think this is going to be one of my favorites with Bub because the grass is so beautiful and lush because it's actually getting shade and is not being burnt out or overgrazed. And there's these beautiful wattle trees here, so I can enjoy myself for longer without feeling the heat. Man, I just love this so much for the dogs. Like, they've both just gotten to play outside and hang out with us all day. They haven't had to be restrained. They haven't had to be inside the bus. Like, there's just so much freedom for them, and they are so much more chill, relaxed, and so much better at listening than they would have been if, you know, they were stuck in the bus or in a small space. So it just makes me so happy and thrilled to know that the boys get to run around, hang out with us again without as much stress. It's going to be even better when we eventually fence off a house yard for them, and then we can leave them outside without supervision and they'll be okay. But until we get around to that, this is still just amazing. I am all done. This is good. Nice little temporary garden bed that's going to be perfect to protect the herbs for now and for something in the future, whether it's flowers or vegetables. I haven't decided yet. I'm hoping vegetables because I don't think the big gardens will be a go for a little while. Just remembered I need to sun map again. The sun is starting to set behind the trees, so it's looking different again. So we got this side and it's about 4 o'clock. This side. Fire pit area, this is probably the sunniest it's been all day. And then up here, very shaded. Wow. Nothing but shade.
I wanted to share my final sun mapping diagram. I just used Canva to put all the pictures side by side with times so that I could see what areas were shaded and what plants might do better in certain light conditions.
Ooh. All nice and protected. Just like that, we are headed inside. The day's done. We are feeling accomplished and not too tired. So I think my body's starting to adjust to this work again and is actually loving it today. So happy to have some of the shed done, happy to have all those herbs done, some socializing done, some puppy walking done, but definitely ready for a rest. I almost forgot, there is one more thing that I was hoping to do today. I've mapped out my sun. At this point, it is shade all around in winter, and I think the time is like 5. But I actually want to get a soil test of this spot here. So this is where I'm planting most of my gardens. It'll probably start somewhere there and head down there. Honestly, have so much space. I'm so excited, but I'm definitely not ready to jump into this yet. I think I showed you guys the other day on move-in day that I planted a couple of things out here. So I have some comfrey, which will get moved. It will not be in my main garden. It will be probably on the edges of the shed and the chicken coop. Rhubarb will also go out the front in front of the bus, and mulberry tree will also go there. The mulberry tree doesn't look great, like it probably needs a bunch of water. The other two look okay, like the rhubarb crowns are starting to do their thing. The old leaves have died back, which is very normal. Mine used to do that too. But the thing that I want to do now is get some soil. I'm going to fill this jar half full with soil and then fill it up full of water to the top, give it a really good shake, and then I'm going to let it sit for the next 24 hours. This will tell us what kind of soil we have, whether it's got lots of compost and natural materials in it, like organic matter, whether it has silt, whether it's clay, whether it's sandy. So fun one to do if you're trying to slow down, observe the land, interact with it, and really understand it before you start making really big drastic changes and decisions. And now we wait till tomorrow. Good morning. Time to look at the soil. Good morning, friends. I'm out here bright and early with a coffee, enjoying the beautiful view, seeing the dogs playing, and I'm also having a go at figuring out what kind of soil we have. So I let this sit for a couple of days and it's separated, and I can see just by looking that the bottom layer, which is the sandy layer, is probably the largest, with the silt layer being pretty close, and then the clay layer is hardly there for me. Now I must say, so far the test has been pretty fun. You can use a ruler now to figure out exactly how much sand layer you have, how much silt, how much clay. You can see with my clay layer it is a very, very thin white line, so there's hardly any clay in the soil. I didn't use a ruler, I just kind of went by like what I can see, and then I actually put all of that information into ChatGPT. ChatGPT has been so useful for so many different questions, and this is one where instead of having to map out the triangle to work out my soil composition, I can just make ChatGPT do it and then show me at the end. And so my results, I wrote down that we have about 50% sand, we have about 28% silt, and about 2% clay. And so my composition for my soil ended up being 50% sand, 48% silt, and 2% clay. That means that our soil type, at least in that part of the garden, is loamy sand and sandy loam, which is a good soil composition to have. It's really good for growing gardens, but it does mean that retaining water is going to be a little bit harder, and retaining nutrients is going to be harder in the soil because of the lack of clay. So for the next little while, I'm going to have to work on adding compost and natural organic material into my soils, covering it up with mulch to help retain that water, which are all standard practices that I would do in my garden anyways when I establish it. So I'm really excited to know that there is a strong baseline to start with. But this type of soil, because it tends to be a bit more sandy, means that the soil is very loose and it's really good for root vegetables, which makes sense why I've always had a lot of success in this area, growing carrots and radishes, potatoes, garlics. My root crops really have been my most successful, and it's due to the soil type. Yeah, I highly recommend have a go at doing your very own little soil jar test. It doesn't take long, it's not hard, and it just helps you to understand your soil better, and the practices you can be putting forward if you're not already in improving the composition. A lot of the time, if you don't have a DA, if you're staying on someone else's property, or if you've just got raw land and you're still working towards building your home, you might not have access to normal bins. And if you don't want to be taking trips down to the tip, which is definitely a place you can take your rubbish, and you want to be more responsible for it, you're going to need a compost pile. And I'm so excited to finally have one. I've been collecting kitchen scraps inside our house, so I'm going to use some pallets and make a compost pile, which eventually will lead into our chicken coop, and I'm very excited for that. But for now, it's just going to be standalone so that we can put our food somewhere. Awesome. When we're using pallets for the garden, we always make sure they have this stamp, which means they're heat treated and not chemically treated. Look, it's simple, but I guarantee you it works well. We had one for years and years. It still needs more sides, but I don't have any more pallets because I've actually grabbed one of the pallets to put here. In the mornings, the dogs and I come outside. One, the step is super high from the bus at the moment, but two, all of this soil is very messy with all the dew in the morning, so having somewhere to shake off our feet, put our shoes, is going to be really nice. Eventually the plan is to have a deck there. We're just not there yet. Beautiful. Thank you once again, my friends, for joining me on this kind of random but fun little homesteading video. It was fun to get into the garden with you guys, propagating plants. It was fun to talk seeds and some of my littler plans for the winter time, as well as testing soil and just observing what's going on our property in regards to sun and shade and all of those things. I think it's really helpful to be in this slow phase of life and be able to actually give the time to the land to really see its full potential, so that hopefully we can make some good decisions going forward and start off on the right foot. I'm excited to take you guys along as we do that and learn together. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Bye, my friends.